just want to make sure my face is on the re-edited version from now on. Guys. That's my only stipulation.
He's still right, the Graves thing added in. I love it. Welcome, everyone. Lads and lasses, it is back. Fully Loaded Transfer Show, episode 6. We are back to talk all things Newcastle United. Now, you know what, lads? Honestly, every week I think, what have we got to discuss? And things just keep piling up again and again and again. So many talking points to get through tonight, and we will get through them all. There's no doubt about it. But welcome, everyone. Loaded boys, how are we?
All right.
All good.
All good, Pete. All good. Yep. Bit of sun,
yeah.
As you can see, glaring in. And Martin.
Daz has been able to tell. Well, I'm in my little shed thing out the back, and it is actually like a Swedish sauna. So yeah, it's I'm actually sitting here. I've had the windows and the doors open for the last half hour, and it's still like plus 26 or 7 or something. It's just crazy heat. We're not used to it.
Definitely not. But look, we've got a new pairing tonight. We've got a new lineup that's come to join the party. So look, I think we'll get the lads in. So first and foremost, the main man, Jordan Cronin.
Welcome, Jordan.
Evening, lads. How you doing?
He's back.
Good to see you.
Back. And also back for another stint with the Loaded Boys on the Full Loaded Transfer Show, Dom Scurr from the Shields Gazette.
Put the laptop away, Dom. Here we go.
Evening, lads. You alright?
Evening, Dom. You alright?
All good, mate. All good.
All good. Great to have you boys on, as always. And, normally I would say when we've had a new pairing that, we'd introduce each other to themselves. But I don't think we need to do that with you boys, do we?
No, not really. I mean, I was saying just last week to Jordan, we've known each other for years, worked with each other for years, but never actually been on a podcast together. So this is our podcast debut, if you like. So you're hitting new ground here. But yeah, I think me and Jordan's probably the person I speak to about Newcastle more than anyone. Most of it probably isn't suitable to go on a podcast, but I'd be interested to see.
Until tonight.
Yeah, interested to see what happens tonight.
Definitely. But no, look, it's always a pleasure to have you on. Great knowledge of Newcastle, and it's great to talk to you. So we always appreciate you joining the party. But look, before we get into transfers, there's someone in that top right hand corner that's not happy today. And look, let's get it up and running because it's a popular discussion. David Shepherd mentioned, evening lads, before we get started, please could you comment on today's Castore debacle, a new low for this company. Now, look, Martin, I'm going to let you have the discussion on this. Give us the lowdown of what you've experienced today and tell us how frustrated you've been.
Does he need a soapbox? Hang on.
Yeah, go on. Yeah, where's my soapbox? That's it.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, and that will. Yeah, and by the way, that wasn't me swearing because I know I have certain viewers who I've had to apologise to this week for my rants pre 9 o'clock, and they've been watching this program while they've had their kids in the sitting room, and I got told off for language. So yeah, there you go. So yeah, Castore. Where do you start? So I didn't until last year. I probably haven't, like you said, Pete, I haven't bought kits from the shop because I didn't want to put money into Ashley's pockets. Last year, things changed. I bought the home top. Probably the first time I bought one out of the club shop for a while. I bought the away one then. I did buy the away one from Sports Direct. Both decent enough jerseys. Sizing was okay, maybe a little tight. This year, it's been nothing but complaints from people. So from a perspective of getting physical jerseys, people are waiting time. So as an example, over 2 weeks now, I ordered the third shirt, the green and white shirt. I paid additional for a 3-day delivery service from Castore. I couldn't get it from the club shop because they didn't have the sizing. So I bought it directly from Castore, paid an additional amount of money. Because of the transfer from sterling to euro, it actually cost me €100 plus shipping to get it to Ireland. 10 days on, I've had 2 emails from Castor culminating in tonight's one that said, sorry, due to high demand, your jersey is being delayed. We will advise you with a tracker number once it's being shipped. Can be up to another 10 to 12 days. So that'll be a month waiting for a 3-day service. So that in itself for me is bad enough if a business is going to offer you a service. In particular for overseas fans, I can't just walk into the club shop and go and pick up a jersey. There's no outlet here in Ireland. There is one huge big Sports Direct down in Dublin. Isn't stocking Newcastle jerseys at the minute. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. So I have to order online, as do a few other people that live there. So you're reliant on that delivery service. And we're no different to any other fan that's living in Newcastle or in England or Scotland or wherever it happens. You want the jersey. When it comes out, you want to get your jersey. You want to wear it. So I think that for me has been bad enough. And then today, obviously, or between yesterday and today, Castor on the Newcastle website, club shop, released all the brand new training gear. Some lovely kit. So I said, that's a nice piece of work there. £40 for one of the training jerseys. I'm going to get it. I'm not going to tell the wife. I have a couple of quid left in PayPal there. Until now, yeah. She won't watch this. She watches Matters. I'm joking. So I said, I'm gonna treat myself, gonna order it. No, you can't do that. Because you can't order it if you're overseas. Now, if I switch on my work laptop, which goes through a UK VPN through Basingstoke, I can order it. I'll do it that way, I thought. No. Because I can't ship it to Ireland. So, in fairness to young Richie there, sat in the bottom corner, Richie went, don't worry, mate. I'm over the Metro Centre this weekend. I'll grab you one. You can PayPal me. Fair play to Richie. This afternoon, Richie texts me and he goes, bugger me. Those tops have gone up 8 quid since this morning. So the top was 40 quid. It's now 48 quid, Richie, I believe.
Yeah, 48 quid, mate.
48 quid. So it's gone up since lunchtime when me and Rich were talking. It's gone up best parts of a tenner. What the club have said, from what I've seen on Twitter and people talking about it, is that the pricing was wrong this morning. But there's a whole load of people who've been able to pre-order that top at 40 quid. So now what do Castor do? Do they honour the pricing of 40 quid? Are they going to charge those people now the 48? It's another Castor mess for me. It's another mistake. We've had pre-kit launches. We've had bad pricing. And I can see a heap of people in the chat. And there's one lad there, I don't know where it's gone, just got his strips for him and the kid, and the stitching is all over the place. So it's hugely frustrating not to be able to get the kit. It's hugely frustrating to pay additional for a service that's not delivered. And then when you do eventually get your kit, it's really, really bad. So for me, it leaves a real bitter taste in the mouth that I don't get the same service and I don't have the same ability, despite being a fan, as good as any other fan that sits on this podcast or goes to St. James's. We get a really shoddy service. So I think Castor need to really, really do something. And I think the club have a responsibility in this as well for people that have got kit with no sponsors, kit that they didn't want sponsors that have sponsors, kids' jerseys that are wrong, sizing that doesn't fit, and delivery dates not being met to. Surely they expected demand, given a takeover, and knowing the interest that the green and white jersey in particular stirred. I can't fathom it out, lads. And it is hugely frustrating. And I'm sure I'm no different to anybody out there on the chat and anybody that's listening. I won't be buying any more from the club shop or Castor. And I know people will kick off and they'll go, why would you get them from DHgate? Okay, they may not last you 2-3 years, but you can get all 3 jerseys on 2 suppliers from DHgate, €52 including delivery in 20 days from China. So if I can get 3 jerseys for 50 quid from China, names and numbered patches, Premier League patches, sponsors, arm sponsors, why would I go and spend 100 quid in Castor to get a home jersey when they can't even deliver it? And I know the quality might be poor. I'd rather pay me 50 quid for 3. If a little bit of stitching comes out, I pay maybe 15 quid for a jersey.
Look, Dom, Jordan, obviously it's been going around Twitter quite a bit now about Castor, and it's not the first time there's been a concern about their quality of service. Is it is it just the case that they're struggling to kind of meet the demands of Newcastle United fans? In your knowledge, are we hearing anything similar from Wolves fans?
Well, I think if you've followed social media for the last year, I think the comical thing with Castor's at times have actually been sending Rangers shirts to Newcastle fans. There's a couple of fans that have been on Twitter posting about the Newcastle top, and I've got a Rangers top coming through. So yeah, there's a service issue with them, and that's been there since they came in. Which it is. It is a concern. What I would say is I do like the top. I think the kits that I've designed are very, very good. I've seen them in person in the club shop, and I was really impressed with them. Very smart. You can tell the fabric probably is a bit more premium than you would be if you went just to a standard Puma shop and what Newcastle had previously. But there's big concerns over the service, and obviously they do need to rectify that as soon as possible, because look, they invested in Newcastle when it was under Mike Ashley, so they essentially got a bargain for a Newcastle kit, but now they're dealing with a totally new demand. Fans are falling back in love with the football club again. They want to buy replica shirts. You've seen by the season ticket sales, etc., even pre-season for any sales as well. Everyone wants a piece of Newcastle United. Everyone wants to buy the merchandise. And Castor have got to fulfil that. So they've got big issues to sort out, and hopefully the more the complaints come, they can knuckle down and get this sorted, because as I say, they are dealing with a massive demand at the moment.
It shouldn't be hard stuff to sort either. It's sort of the bare minimum you expect. It's not like the committing sort of crimes that you wouldn't expect. It's getting the basics right. Like Jordan said, I have a mate who ordered a shirt online. It didn't come with a Fun 88 sponsor, which people sort of wouldn't mind because they don't like the sponsor. But you're buying a shirt, you're buying something on face value for a certain price, and then things are changing when you actually get it. And to be honest, I've bought the shirt myself from the club shop, and it was fine. So I can't complain from my own experience, but from what you hear, like you say on social media and things like that, it's just getting the very basics wrong, really. But things like that, as bad as they are, shouldn't be hard to fix. The pricing today, for example, that's human error. Someone's made a mistake there, put the wrong price up, and now the club and Castor look a bit daft for it. So things like that can be addressed, and hopefully moving forward, we can start to see more seamless sort of things from them. But at the moment, the signs aren't particularly brilliant.
I think one of the telling things that I noticed off going off, because obviously I messaged Jordan about this as well earlier on, about the post that we put on Twitter earlier about the debacle today was they've got a long sleeve version of the training top out as well. Now the long sleeve version's £50. So you're trying to tell me that it only costs you £1 per sleeve for the extra fabric and stuff like that. So even the price at £48, which they've obviously put it up to, it just doesn't really seem like a realistic price compared to the long sleeve version. The polo shirt that I've got on when it first came out was £48. I was lucky I caught it in the half price sale at the Christmas time, so I paid £24 for it. But I think the training top last year was £40. So there needs to be something like a level playing field going along. Or there's a pricing all the way along, but going back to the manufacturing issues as well, I got everyone was after the hoodie last year, the scuba hoodie with that Jason Tyndall wears on the touchline every week, and when that was stock you couldn't get hold of it. So I was lucky enough to get it for me Father's Day present of the kids. Received it. There was a couple of little clicks in it which I wasn't happy about, but then I actually looked at it closely, and from the pocket to the Newcastle writing, at each end, there is 1.5 centimeters difference between the writing and the pocket on one side compared to this one's wonky. So, of course, that's another manufacturer issue. I've had to, email them and say, well, look what's going on here. It costs a caddy whack, this hoodie. What's the issue? And this is, well, you can either keep it and we'll refund you 20%, or you can send it back for a credit note. And that's all I've had. So, So it's not just the shirts that having issues with. Obviously, having issues with the hoodies as well. But to me, having to put pre-orders in for kits and stuff like that. It shouts small business. When you sell like an Etsy company, and obviously you take your order, then you to keep supply and demand down, you make as per order comes in. This isn't well prepared at all, and it does shout small company. And that's why a lot of people I think are saying, bring back Adidas, bring back Umbro, bring back Nike, or look at Nike going forward, because we're the richest club in the world now, going up, and everyone wants to be part of Newcastle with the sponsorship, and you bigger brands are going to want to be part. Castor had the opportunity if you go forward with this club going forward and build something. As Jordan said, the design aspect of them is really smart. They look good. The quality feels really good. But it's the actual manufacturing when they get to the warehouse to get made and stuff. That's what letting the company down. And that's, unfortunately, you always remembered for your bad stuff rather than your good stuff. And that's going to be the case with Castor's time with Newcastle, unfortunately.
Yeah. Go on, Daz.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to really rant about the clothes. I'm just thinking that, look at it in one way. I'm going to take a positive from it. Isn't it great that this is all we have to complain about? We don't have to worry about not bringing in players or not moving players on or moving on into the future. It will get better. We will get rid of Castori. We will get rid of Fun 88 as well. As things go on, I think Martin's on mute. But when he's giving out to me,
I am sorry. No, I'm not giving out. It wasn't giving out. I was just going to say, I hear what you're saying, totally right. But there's lads and lasses, in particular in the northeast and hard-working areas that, and I know some people will go, well, they're spending money on jerseys, but then they complain they don't have enough to put food on the table or pay the heat or pay the electricity. Lads and lasses work hard to put a strip with the favourite player's name on the back of it for their kids. And if you're paying decent money, you expect a decent product. That's my issue. I'm lucky. I've got a decent job. I have a little bit of cash every now and again that the wife can do something, I can do something, I can do what I need to do. So because I don't live in the region anymore, that's for me, getting a jersey and having that over here in Dublin, that's my little bit of connection with home. That's my little bit of connection with my club. That's my little bit of connection, in particularly now when the club is where it is and the stature to we're growing. It makes me proud to stick on a jersey. So if I can't get one, and you do get it and you're paying your money, which again, because of conversion and everything else, you're paying pretty much twice the price of a jersey to get one over here. Yeah. It's just, for me, it's not good enough, and people pay hard-earned money after working a hard week, and it's not right. It's not on.
Your experience, Martin, has led me to say that I'm not going to buy it online.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm going to wait till I go over there and buy it when I'm in the club, when I can look at it physically and check it's all right. Pete, we get on with the transfer talk.
Let's go for it. Now, look, it's always a busy week in Newcastle, and the boys have been back. So the boys have returned to training. He looks great in that training top. The main man, Sven Botman, in training.
Pope mentioned training tops.
Yeah, it's a lovely top. To be fair, Pope's been back in. You've had the likes of Bruno, Trippier, Shaw, Miggy's returned with some new ink, I might add. What was interesting about that, though, is that one or two, although returned to training, didn't quite return to training with the first team. And look, boys, I'll come to this one first, really, is that, Craig Hope put something out today, the other day, saying that Dwight Gale, Jeff Hendricks, Kieran Clark training with the under-23s as how looks to sort of trim the squad. And it's mentioned, and it's kind of gone on, as well with potential teams that have been linked with the likes of Kieran Clark and Dwight Gale. Now, from your perspective, boys, and I'll come to Jordan, Dom, I'll come to you guys first. How close are these players to be moving out? Because Newcastle fans have been calling for this right since the start of the summer, and we weren't sure at one point whether these boys would be able to be shifted, and it's looking like now there's a potential for that to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I think that gives a good indication of where their futures are at. Probably no surprise. I don't think it's a way that Eddie Howe would like to have dealt with it, because he likes to stay respectful to the players. But look, they've got a pre-season to have Austria in a week's time, and I've also got to go to Portugal as well. And unfortunately, you can't take, I think it's about 33 senior players which they've got on the books at the moment. And then 3 players there that have been mentioned were new from last season. Bar Dwight Gale, really, that Kieran Clark was left out of 25-man squad. Jeff Henrik was loaned out. Dwight Gale probably played from memory, about 10 minutes on Eddie Howe. Certainly didn't start a game, had a few sub appearances. So they're always going to be players that were going to leave. The issue with them is just the wage. I'm fairly sure Newcastle would probably give them away. If I'm being brutally honest, sort of waive a transfer fee as long as someone would take on the wages. Or it's up to the player then or the players to negotiate a higher wage, because look, them 3 players there, if I've been disrespectful, sort of bang average top flight players, if that, are on ridiculous wages at this football club, and that was just because of what happened on a night last year, where they all got, certainly Dwight Gale got a new contract, Kieran Clark got a new contract because they didn't want to go out and spend X amount of pounds on signing a new sort of younger version. And then obviously Jeff Henrik at the time, I think, still does have a very good agent, where he was linked with AC Milan. Obviously got a deal at Newcastle, and then got put on high wages as well. So look, then players will leave the football club. I'm absolutely sure of that. And obviously the Championship looks like the most realistic destination for them.
It shows Eddie Howe's sort of ruthless side. He's very focused on the season ahead. He doesn't want to be carrying 3 players who are going to leave the club. Like Jordan says, those 3 players will leave the club in some way, shape or form, whether it's on loan or permanent. I'd say a loan is probably maybe the more likely, just because of the wage structure, and then have Newcastle subsidise the wages. But shows Eddie Howe in training, he wants every player on that training pitch with the first team having some form of impact going into the season. And even if it's not a first team player as such, we've seen the likes of Isaac Westendorf, Lucas de Ball training with the first team. Just that experience for them is going to help. And although Kieran Clark, Isaac Hayden, Jeff Hendrick won't want to be training with the under 23s, just having them training with the younger players will obviously raise their game as well, the young lads. So yeah, it's just sort of,
maybe
whether it's disrespectful or not, he is just putting them to one side, and fully expect them to leave the club. It's just where they're going to join, which clubs will be able to take them. We've seen Middlesbrough linked with the likes of Dwight Gale, talks of Kieran Clark agreeing deals with various Championship clubs, but nothing has materialised as of yet. But yeah, those are 3 players, like Jordan says, you'd expect to get secure a Championship move over the next month or so.
Definitely. Look, Loaded Lads, I'll come to you with regard to this. We've got Hendrick that's potentially linked with the likes of Reading. You've got Clark, as Dom said, that's linked to a host of clubs. Gale, who's been linked with Middlesbrough, Watford,
Birmingham
in recent days. I think along with Clark as well. So, it looks like that teams are interested in them. Are we looking at permanent moves? Are we looking at loans? Are we really even bothered? Daz, Richie, are we even bothered about that?
I'm not bothered. No.
It's my Leicester twang coming out.
Yeah. I was going to say, no. Yeah, we talked about it on Monday night, actually. How are we going to offload them? And it doesn't really matter how we offload them once we offload them. I know we had in their chat today because we thought that Clark was gone to Sheffield United, and we were saying how much did Newcastle have to pay to get rid of him, as in like his wages to back it. So I think it'll be loans or us backing the wages to get them off the books, and whatever Dan Ashworth has to do to get rid of them, clear the ranks, do it.
Richie, are you in the same mindset? Are you a case of, however we get these players off the books, whether we subsidise some of the wages or not. Are you bothered about that, or are you of the mindset that you want them permanently sold and gone?
I think in an ideal world, you'd like them permanently gone and sold, but we know as it is, that's not probably going to be the case with every single deal that the club's going to do, whether we're buying or selling. So I think any way that it can get them off the books, whether it be a loan, permanent signing, to free up space, for the 25-man squad for possible income and stuff, we've just got to do it. Unfortunately, we've said there's not many clubs out there who've got a lot of money at the moment, and especially the players that we're looking to get rid of. We're looking there straight away. You're not seeing many, or if any, offers coming in from Premier League clubs. They're all championship clubs who are looking at these players. So they've got less money than the Premier League clubs. So, that's the window that those players are unfortunately in at the moment now. And it goes back to what we've been saying for years. We've been playing with a championship squad for the majority of the time since we've been back in the Premier League. So now we can't even, shift some of these players to current championship clubs because they're struggling to pay the wages and stuff like that. So, if we have to subsidise some of the wages and get them out on loan, then by all means. But yeah, get them off the books by any way. You don't want any potential moles developing again, and there's good harmony in the dressing room at the moment and stuff like that. You don't want anything like that spoiling it as well. So if they have to go and train with the under 23s until they've left, then so be it, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. It is what it is, and Dom touched on it a second ago with about some sections of the fan base thinking it was quite harsh them being kind of made to kind of train within the 23s. For me, it's not an issue. Howe was very respectful in terms of they weren't in the 25-man squad, but he still allowed them to train with the team in the back end of last season. But as we are now looking ahead to a brand new season, you don't want those players that clearly haven't got a future with Newcastle continuing to train there. They need to be gone. And also, by training within the 23s, it sends a clear message. And one or two of you already alluded to that actually their future lies elsewhere. And it almost kind of pushes them out to ensure that they secure a move to another club. So hopefully those things are settled and sealed very, very quickly. Just before we move on to the bulk of the transfers, thank you, Marty, for your £2 super sticker. Really, really appreciate that. There's been lots of super stickers and donations to the channel tonight that we've had whilst we've had the conversation. Really, really appreciate that. Thank you for everyone that donates. And Toonami, thank you as always. As well as that, as we always say, if you haven't clicked the thumbs up in the chat, make sure you do that. Click subscribe, get those thumbs up and those likes, as many as we possibly can. We've got 350 in the chat. Let's make sure we've got 350 likes as well. And thank you to those that have become members as well to the Loaded family. Talking of players coming in from for pre-season training, just want to touch on this really lightly before we move on. Is one man that's come back and he looks like he's raring to go, and it's Callum Wilson. Now, what's interesting about this man is that there has been a link with potentially Callum Wilson signing or having contract talks with Newcastle, with the potential of an extension. Now, we talked about this on the Loaded show the other night, but look, Jordan, I'll get your thoughts first on that. Is that something that we should be looking at? Would you be happy with Wilson getting a new deal at Newcastle, or do you think, with a couple of years left on his contract, we should maybe just see that out with his injury record?
Yeah, it's exactly that. The injury record now. For me, Callum Wilson is the best striker that Newcastle will probably have at this moment when he's fit. But you can never really rely on him in terms of fitness. I think he's got 2 years left on his current deal, so that takes him up to 32. Where will he be at when he's 32? Look, he's still got a lot of years ahead of him, I'd imagine. But at the top level, I don't know. In terms of a new contract, personally, for me, I wouldn't jump the gun now and award him one now, because look, for brilliant he is for Newcastle when he plays. He misses a lot of games. I think he missed 18 games last season, and it was 12 the season before. So this is a player that does miss a lot of games. But look, they might be looking long term as well, where in the future, a couple of years time, Callum Wilson could become a backup striker to a bigger name, and Callum Wilson would be a great backup, wouldn't he? And maybe his body would suit not playing week in, week out when he gets to sort of an older age. So I can see it from both sides, but for me personally, I'd probably give it another season to see how he fares. But that saying that, I think Eddie Howe probably trusts himself to manage Callum Wilson correctly. Obviously managed him at Bournemouth for quite a lot of years, and I think this season will hopefully try and bank on managing Wilson correctly and getting more games out of him. So we'll just have to wait and see. He's a popular player, and look, if he was to be given a new contract, you wouldn't hear any complaints about it. But I just think for a long term thing, maybe just give it another season to see how he copes really. But as I say, good player for the club, and look, when he plays, he's excellent. If he can maintain his fitness, then look, he's worth a longer term deal.
Yeah, look, Dom, your thoughts about Wilson? Jordan's mentioned about him, potentially waiting another year. Do you think he almost needs to prove himself to Newcastle in the club to deserve another contract because of the injury history that he's got?
Yeah, I think he does. Like Jordan alluded to, I think in terms of starts since he's joined, Callum Wilson started less than 50% of the possible games he could have, which for your main striker who, if fit, will start every week, just isn't good enough. His record in terms of goals is brilliant. He's a key player for Newcastle, but you've got to stay fit. And when he's not getting any younger either, if he was maybe 27, 26, offering him an extension, maybe I'd probably consider it right now. But a player of his injury record, once he's the wrong side of 30 now, it's his body's not going to get any stronger at this stage, if you like, in terms of recovering from injuries. So if he can stay fit and get maybe 25 starts this season at least under his belt and prove himself to Eddie Howe, then by all means offer him a contract extension. But while he's still got 2 years left on his current deal, I don't think there's, like Jordan says, any need to sort of rush into it or jump the gun. He has to prove himself, not in terms of performance-wise, just by getting on the pitch and playing regularly.
No, I think it's more than a fair point. And I think it will split opinions. I think, as has been mentioned, I think if he was to sign a new deal, the fans wouldn't be necessarily against it. But I think it's maybe not the pressing issue that's needed right now. And actually, by proving himself, by scoring 15 plus goals next season, would 100% justify a new contract. That is for sure. But just wanted to touch on that. Just a nice loose link there. Let's see how that materializes. But look, we're going to get into the big conversations now with regards to transfers. And look, first and foremost, this player is not going away. There's continued talks about him. He would seriously, in my opinion, be a huge marquee signing if we could get the deal done. And it's Moussa Diaby from Bayer Leverkusen, a supremely talented boy. And as I say, the links just seem to be constantly coming our way, and it is looking like in the last few days, certainly in the last week, it seems to be getting stronger and stronger. Graham Bailey, a friend of the channel, has mentioned that Newcastle are ready to kind of produce a record-breaking transfer deal in order to get the deal done and get him over to Newcastle at some point between now and the start of the season. But look, from your points of view, again, we'll come back to Jordan and Dom. What are you hearing with regards to Diaby, and do you, in your own opinions, think that the deal will get done and enjoy Newcastle United?
So he's a player that's absolutely on the list, and would be a player that's near the top of the list, obviously for his record in the Bundesliga. I think it was something like 12 goals and 13 assists last year, or the other way around. That is on the screen there, nice and timely. So look, he's a big talent, still only 22. So look, when Newcastle are looking at key positions, you're looking at getting the current age of the squad down, and his age fits that bracket. Obviously, I say he's experienced in the Bundesliga, is currently a France international. So all that completely ticks every single box. But I think the thing for me, and I've said this a few weeks ago as well, and it hasn't changed, the fee has to come down for Newcastle to strike a deal, I think. I think he's price tag maybe 60 million or 50 million pound upwards. I don't think Newcastle will do a deal at that price, unless, because look, they've still got a striker to sign as well. So I'd take this scenario. So say Newcastle, for example, go and sign Boja on loan from Chelsea. So that fills the striking option. Then maybe they do look to spend big on a wide forward like Diaby. But at this present moment, look, the interest is there. It's absolutely there. But I just don't see how he becomes a Newcastle player. My personal opinion, I'd love to be proved wrong, because look, the owners do have money to spend. But look, we're sort of briefed in saying that Newcastle have got to go by financial fair play rules, and going by financial fair play rules, Diaby doesn't fit in. So there could be a surprise element to it. But at this present moment, I don't see the deal happening personally. As I say, unless they maybe get a striker in on loan and it frees them up to go and spend a little bit extra on a wide forward.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Dom, I'll come to you with this as well. Is that Jordan's mentioned about the financial constraints of making sure that we're sticking by FFP and not spending too much money. But look, when a player of his ability is available, and the fact that he's been a priority target, there's some that are saying that we've been scouting him for the last 18 months, so way before the takeover. Do you when you look at Sven Botman, when you look at how much they've held on for Ekitike, although that deal doesn't look like it's going ahead, are Newcastle really going to kind of walk away for the difference of what, maybe 10, 15 million for a target they've scouted for that long?
Yeah, it's hard to say. The owners are nothing if but tenacious. We saw with the takeover, and then since the transfer business. But Moussa Diaby is a top target for Newcastle. There's been no sort of formal approach or bids just yet, and it would, like Jordan says, require Newcastle to really push the boat out. They'd have to smash the transfer record to get him, and with financial fair play, that is going to be a problem. But for me, 22-year-old French international, I think in all competitions, in addition to the Bundesliga, something like 17 goals, 14 assists. So he's contributing over 30 goals over the course of the season, which are numbers in Premier League terms you'd only really expect from your Mo Salahs and your Sons, people like that, if you translated that into the Premier League. So if anything, I'm surprised he hasn't been linked with, or more heavily linked with, some of your top European clubs, the likes of PSG or maybe a Barcelona type, those type of clubs. The fact Newcastle are in with a shout of him is massive, really. And if Newcastle get him, and I think it is a big if, he would be probably the marquee signing so far. But like I say, it would require them to really push the boat out, and I think it's probably verging on the side of unrealistic this summer, unless they were to, and I'm not saying they will, sell like an Alan St-Maximin or something for a similar sort of fee. That's the only way I could see it happen.
Okay. Look, Daz, Moussa Diaby, in your opinion, are you someone that says, you know what, forget this, let's just get him in, he's a big signing, he's going to make a huge difference and really send a message to the rest of the Premier League that we really mean business? Would you, is that the type of signing you would go for?
Yeah, definitely. It looks amazing in the clips I've seen. It's interesting that the other player, I know we're going to get onto them, but the other players were linked out for as well, who play in kind of similar positions or alternatives to Diaby. And is that kind of a tactic to try and push Bayern's hand in trying to get Diaby over the line? But I guess someone asked in the chat as well, is there an actual bid gone in yet? There's nothing gone in, and I know PSG are being talked about, being sniffing around as well. But yeah, if we'd be amazed if we got him, but if not, I don't want us hanging around either. I want us to move on. Put in your bid and take it from there. He looks class though.
Definitely. I think it's a case of from what we're hearing this week is that there's the potential that the bid is being ready to potentially, test the waters with Bayer Leverkusen. It's going to be an interesting couple of weeks watching the Moussa Diaby situation. Now, you mentioned PSG, and Lee, when he's been on the show, has talked about it as well. Now, it's an obvious link, PSG, because he came through their academy there, and Lee mentioned the fans didn't understand why they sold him to Bayer Leverkusen in the first place, because they saw him as breaking through into the first team. Now, that's an easy link. And, if PSG genuinely came calling, I think that would be a very, very difficult deal for him to turn down, although he really wants to come and play in the Premier League. And he's talked about the Premier League quite positively before. I would say, and the surprising thing about it, and a few others have noticed it actually, the Newcastle link is really the only solid link there for the whole summer with Moussa Diaby. So that kind of fills me with a little bit of confidence. But Richie, I'll come to you, because obviously
just before you go to Richie, it's diverging away, but it's talking about PSG. I see Hugo Ekiteke is being linked now to PSG as well. So it's just strange that we're in the same market for players as PSG. Just while we're on the topic of PSG.
I mean, Hugo Ekitike, not going to spend any more time on that, because I think everyone knows where we're at with that. Miles Staff of the Shields Gazette put out today that it looks like Ekitike is edging closer to a move this summer, and it's likely to be PSG, because they are likely to have talks, or have already had talks this week. But look, that deal looks like it's not happening, and I think it would take a massive turnaround in order for that deal to actually come through with him moving to Newcastle. But Richie, I obviously know you've got an opinion on Moussa Diaby, and I think there was a question that was posed to us that you wanted to bring up.
Yeah, we discussed in our WhatsApp chat at the end. I'd put his highlight reel that had been put on numerous different channels in our channel, and said, look, Moussa Diaby is next level. I've watched the Bundesliga for many years. I really, really got into it when we first started like lockdown. You had pretty much every minute of the day free to do whatever you wanted to do. So you start to watch things that you like in depth, and you take it all in. And as I highlighted in our chat, and and Pete followed up on this, was you look at 18 months ago, Aston Villa signed Leon Bailey from Bayer Leverkusen, who was playing in front of Moussa Diaby at Leverkusen, and everybody was ranting and raving about Leon Bailey being the next best thing and being absolutely unbelievable. So this lad is head and shoulders a far, far better player than Leon Bailey. And if you look, Leon Bailey's struggling to make the Aston Villa side now. I think going back to what Pete's just said about Newcastle being the only realistic bid on the table, I think it's quite telling that a manager who is in the market for two wingers at the minute at Chelsea, who was a previous manager of them at PSG, and also knows the Bundesliga very well, isn't looking at bringing Moussa Diaby in when he's looking at Rafinha and Raheem Sterling for similar sort of prices of what Newcastle are being quoted for Diaby. So, that the one thing you got to look at there is Tuchel wanting to go and start playing a different way, or is there something that he doesn't quite think he's either ready for the Premier League yet, or is there something character-wise which he just doesn't think, That, to me, that's not really the main issue, but I think it's something you look at and think, is there possibly something there if Tuchel's not looking at him? But from what I've seen, I think he's just one hell of a player. Regards to the deal, I think Jordan's mentioned before, the price that's getting quoted around is about 60 million euros. I don't think you're going to be realistically getting anywhere close to that. I think you're probably looking between 45 and 50 million with add-ons. I think if that's something where you're going to go, that's more the realistic ballpark figure. But the other thing that someone's mentioned in the chat as well, which was interesting, but there's been numerous times mentioned about what's Newcastle's budget and stuff like that, and we've had that conversation regards Luke Edwards saying, Newcastle's transfer business is going to be 50 million this summer. And then we've got other people saying there is no budget. And I think we could probably all realistically look at that. The fact that Newcastle have put out there said they will spend the money if the correct player is available that will enhance the squad without breaking the bank. Because the money is there if that's the case. But we're not going to be put over a barrel and have our arses spanked for an extra 5-10 million per deal. Like I mentioned before, you mentioned, do we walk away with 10 to 15 million of Diabate? Yes, we do, because we can invest that somewhere else. We don't. If we're going to be sure to be paid over the money for a player, then every club will try and do that going forward. So the point that we found on Twitter that I mentioned to Pete yesterday was, so I can't remember the person who mentioned it on Twitter, but it was a really, really relevant point. Now obviously, I posed this question to everyone, and obviously Pete never answered, so it'll be good to get his thoughts on this as well. But would you prefer all the transfer budget, if that's what we've got a budget there, all go around Moussa Diaby as a marquee signing, or would you say the same amount of money spent on 3 players, such as Broja on loan, a Callum Hudson-Odoi as a right winger, and the potential link of Tielemans for the rough quotation of price, for a similar sort of money?
Who wants to go first? Interesting question.
You, Pete. That's you, isn't it?
Oh, me. Okay.
I didn't reply.
Okay. So, Diaby, or so we're saying Broja, Callum Hudson-Odoi, or Tielemans.
No, Pete, they reckon that you can get all 3 for the same cost as Diaby.
Right. Okay. I love my big signings. Look, I'm going to go Moussa Diaby. And the reason being is because I think our midfield is strong. And I think in a full season, it would be strong enough to get into the top half of the table with the way they performed in the back half of last season. And I just think that Moussa Diaby would just create something completely different for our team. It would add a different dynamic to Newcastle United. We have cried out for a right winger that can score goals, that can create chances on a regular basis. I don't think we've had it, and correct me if I'm wrong, lads, I don't think we've had that since Hatem Ben Arfa was at the club on the right-hand side. Goals and assists and being a constant threat. Moussa Diaby will give you exactly that. And on top of that, because of his level of assists, I think Callum Wilson scores more goals next season off the back of that, from that creativity. And I just think he would just change the way in which we play football. I really, really do. And I think he'd be 100% worth the money if we paid that. So Moussa Diaby, one big major signing. Let's get it done. Go on then, George.
Go next.
I'd probably go with the 3, just because Newcastle need more quality and more positions. So they need to do a building process, and signing 3 players over 1, takes you closer to that as well. I've no doubt Diaby would come in and be an unbelievable player. But I just think having 3 better options than what you currently have is why I'd go for 3 signings over just signing 1. And that's all I'm saying on that.
Love it. Dom, what do you think?
Well, I was firmly agreeing with Jordan until you spoke, Peter. I thought you gave a good argument for Moussa Diaby, but I'd still have to say the 3, just because Youri Tielemans is one of the best midfielders in the Premier League. Like that, he's a really, really good signing in his own right. Moussa Diaby, as good as a season as he's just had in Premier League terms, is still an unknown quantity. There's a degree of a gamble there. As good as he is or could potentially be in the Premier League, he could absolutely wipe the floor with the division, but he's still not proven himself in the league. And all it takes is a hamstring injury or breaks his foot or something like Kieran Trippier did. He's out for half the season. If you've got 3 players, that's just helps your squad massively. And I think you can't, the completely different type of players, obviously, but I think Youri Tielemans is a brilliant player and will be a brilliant signing. So I think him plus 2 others, Hudson-Odoi and Broja, 2 promising young players. that is still the way I'd probably lean.
Okay, interesting. Daz, did you give yours before?
No, not yet. And since well, I think Tielemans is going to go to end up at Arsenal. I don't think Diaby is going to come to us. I'm afraid. But I play the hypothetical game because I did click on the button for the 3 and in Twitter. I think it was a question on Twitter as well. So because I've already bargained Tielemans down from 140 million with Ben Jacobs to about 20-30 million. So I have to go for the package that includes him. So yeah, Tielemans in there. But okay. And people are saying in the chat as well, why can't we have them all? Why can't we have our cake and eat it? We could. But that's the beauty of it. We don't know what's around the corner.
Yeah. And look, yeah, there's people in the chat saying that, and there's one or two that I've spoken to that said exactly the same. Why can we not have them all? And look, I think financially wise, we could probably afford to buy them all, but in terms of it fitting into the structure and the way in which Newcastle United want to build, exactly what the lads have said, I just don't think that's viable. But I think there could be room for out of that group of players, Diaby and maybe one other as a potential before the end of the season. I know Dom and Jordan have kind of maybe played it down as a potential. I'm going to play it up. I think we're going to sign this. So why not? I do. I think what we've seen from this ownership is that when they want a player and they've scouted a player and he is the number one choice, they will go out of their way to ensure that they get the player that they want. We've had so many years where Mike Ashley has had a list of players given to him and he's automatically gone to 8th, 9th and 10th choice, and they've only ever been the options for Newcastle United. We are now going for our first choice players and going all out and getting our first choice players. Sven Botman was a prime example of that. In January, you got Kieran Trippier was another. Bruno Guimaraes was another one. And I think with the fact that they really want Moussa Diaby, and it's been talked about, Jordan, Dom, you both said it tonight. Others have said it in the media world about him being the number one choice, one of their main targets. I just think that they are going to push the boat out and ensure that he signs. And it wouldn't surprise me later on in the window if we then whip up another. And, who's to say that loans aren't going to be then used to our benefit as well? Who's to say that we can't get another quality player but have him on loan for a season? So I do think the RB will happen. But again, it's a really good discussion. And lots of people in the chat have had their say as well. So I think it would just be a case of watch this space and see how it all kind of materializes. But look, we've touched on Brozier, so I'll come to that now because he is obviously getting a lot of interest with Newcastle United as well. Dom, you wrote a piece with regards to Brozier, and you said he's basically in a position to discuss his future this week, and there's been talk about will he, won't he go on the tour with Chelsea. If he doesn't, it's likely that he could be leaving the club. What are your thoughts and what movement from your perspective has there been on Amanda Brozier?
Yes, talks with Chelsea this week, the club's hierarchy. I don't think he's going away on their pre-season tour. I think they're going to America, something like that. He wants his future decided. Thomas Tuchel wanted to take a look at him before making a decision, and obviously Everton, West Ham are circling at the moment. There's talks of a £30 million bid. Newcastle obviously approach things from a loan perspective. Chelsea won't entertain that at this stage, particularly when you've got two clubs sort of lining up looking to take him permanently. It's still one, I think, in regard to a loan, Newcastle could potentially explore later in the window, but in terms of the near future, if he, while there's sort of interest to take him permanently, Newcastle would probably have to equal that sort of thing and look to take him permanently if they want to get him in the near future. But it's one that certainly could happen. It's just where things go with the likes of West Ham and Everton, who are obviously interested.
Definitely. And yeah, you're right. There's been a number of teams interested in Brozier. He's a talented boy. I think he scored 9 goals last season. He didn't finish the season as strongly, but Southampton didn't either as a club. I think they had a real dreadful run, so that may have played a bit of a part in that. Jordan, you also wrote a piece about Brozier as well, saying that obviously there's been claims that Chelsea don't, as Dom said, about taking Brozier on their pre-season training. And if he isn't included, he will request to leave. Now, Dom has touched on that as well. The one thing I'll say to you is, with all the teams that are linked, surely Newcastle will be top of the list in terms of wanting to get that over the line and get him up to St James's Park. Yeah,
you'd hope so. See the project that's building here, that's one thing that should attract him to come and be a part of something where that's just on loan for the season or a permanent bid. But I think, look, exclude Everton because Everton are nowhere near Newcastle right now. But West Ham United is an interesting one because you look at the location. West Ham are in London. Brozier is currently based in London, obviously with Chelsea. They can offer Conference League football next year. So look, it might be a straight shootout between Newcastle and West Ham. I wouldn't say that Brozier is the only striker Newcastle are looking at currently. It's just a name currently on the agenda. I wouldn't be surprised in a few weeks if we have a new striker name linked with the club. As it is with the transfer window, it seems to be that once one player's linked for a few weeks, everyone's sort of becomes obsessed with that player and hopes that he signs. But then in a few weeks' time, he's actually forgotten about as well. So I don't know. We'll just have to see how his future develops. I think Brozier was hoping that he would go on the US tour with Chelsea. Hopefully, impress Thomas Tuchel, because obviously they've just lost Romelu Lukaku as well, haven't they, to Inter Milan? So he might maybe fancy his chances of getting in that striker spot. But if he's not going on the US tour, then realistically, when is he going to get a chance to impress? And it's up to Brozier and Chelsea to either sit down and try and discuss another loan move or a permanent move, and see what happens there. But look, he's certainly not the only name that Newcastle are looking at. But I think from a financial point of view, as we talked about before, if they could get him on loan, he's still only 20 years old, so he is that younger option that Newcastle are looking for behind Callum Wilson, because they thought they had that and Hugo Ekitike didn't get it. So it would be a good deal financially if they get him on loan, and then, as I say, it frees you up to potentially, if you like, maybe target a Moussa Diaby. But as I say, not the only name on the list, and there'll be another name, or there'll be other names linked in a few weeks' time as well. So try not to get too obsessed with Brozier just yet.
Definitely. And look, you touched on Everton not being a factor in this because of the differences between the clubs at the moment in where we're at, certainly financially as well. But however, if Everton did come in for Brozier and they were able to strike a deal, would that potentially mean that this man would be on his way? It's obviously a player that has been discussed with Newcastle and been linked with Newcastle. Could that be potentially the merry-go-round in that Brozier goes to Everton as maybe a replacement for Calvert-Lewin coming to Newcastle? Is that link still there? Is it still strong, or is it one that's sort of fading? In your opinion, Dom, Jordan?
Yeah, so what I would say about Brozier, actually, now I've just remembered, it was Frank Lampard that actually handled him his Chelsea debut a few years ago now. So maybe I was wrong to just completely rule Everton out of that, because might be a sort of a
connection
to go and unite with Frank Lampard and develop a year at Everton. Will it have an effect on Calvert-Lewin? Look, he's still a player that's on the agenda and a player that's currently under consideration. But look, a lot's been made about his price tag now, and I think Everton are in dangerous territory in terms of offloading other players. They've already offloaded a key player in Richarlison, obviously, to Tottenham. I don't know if we're going to touch on Anthony Gordon later, but he was another player that's been linked with a move. So if they were to sell another key player behind Richarlison, then I think there could be big trouble at Everton in terms of the fans venting their anger against the ownership, because look, Broja would be a good signing for them, but you know, you're selling a striker. Say Calvert-Lewin goes for whatever 45, 50 million, and you're replacing him with a loan striker from Chelsea. Or even, you know, if you do sign him permanently, he's still only 20 years old as well. I don't think Everton fans would be too pleased with that. But yeah, in terms of the Calvert-Lewin interest, it's still there. But I say the transfer fee, which has been quoted, is just a deal that Newcastle won't do either. We just have to be one that Everton would be negotiating, you know, bring the figure down, which I think looks unlikely at the minute because, as I say, they've already sold the key player, Richarlison.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I honestly felt, and I didn't say this to anybody, but I honestly felt that at the end of the season, I did believe that both Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison would leave the club, just because of how bad Everton's financial situation was. Is that they needed to sell some of their top players in order to balance the books and replace them with a kind of a cheaper alternative. And obviously, Jordan's alluded to that, Dom. You know, if they were to get Broja maybe on a loan with a view to buy, where they're paying minimal amounts of fees out for him, you know, could there be an opportunity for someone like Calvert-Lewin, who's been rated again at a 40 million, to come down to maybe half that, or maybe 25 million? Could that be an opportunity down the line? And would you take that? I'm going to zip with my opinion on Calvert-Lewin. So don't ask me anything about Calvert-Lewin. But what are your opinions on that, Dom?
I think if you could get him for 25 million, which for the record I don't think you could, then that's a good deal. I mean, it's the same price Newcastle paid for Chris Wood, and Calvert-Lewin is a considerably better player, in my opinion. But what I would say is I don't think I do think Callum Wilson's a better player than Calvert-Lewin when fit. So with the system Eddie Howe plays, liking to play the wide men, the one up front, why would you spend the 60 million reported, or even 40 million, 35, 40 million per Calvert-Lewin for him to basically be a backup to Callum Wilson, or rotate between the two, whoever's fit? Because Calvert-Lewin last season was injured the vast majority. His injury record isn't great at all. I'm not saying he's a bad player by any means. I think he's probably, after Harry Kane, it's Calvert-Lewin and Callum Wilson in terms of the English strikers, goal scorers in the Premier League anyway. So would he be a good signing? Yeah, I think he would be, but it would have to be considerably less than the price is being quoted. So I just don't think it's a realistic one, unfortunately.
Yeah. Daz, Richie, what would be a realistic price for you if we were to sign Dominic Calvert-Lewin? What would you say would be, not a price that we would be happy to pay, but a realistic price for what you value him at potentially?
5 million. No, I don't want him. I really don't want him. Ever since his name was mentioned, I don't want. No, okay, 25 million is a decent price, and I agree with what Dom was saying. He's better than Chris Wood, but not for me. We had Pete Graves on, who was bigging him up last week as well. But no, I just really don't want him. There is another Everton player. I know we're going to get on to him that I do want, but I don't want Calvert-Lewin. I don't know. I just never really took to him. But I really don't think we'll get him for anything like 25 million. The price is being quoted. No, move on. Find someone on the continent that can do it better, or even a young Brazilian or someone, anyone. Richie, are you the same?
I am, yeah. Unfortunately, yeah. You know, like, when he was fit. I wouldn't say last season, the season before. He started off the season like a house on fire. He was absolutely immense. The season when we started behind the lockdown, he was fantastic. I think the price that they want isn't realistic. Let's be honest here, lads. It's like, I think Dom's right. You're probably looking at the 25 to 30 million mark tops, and that 30 million a push. You look at the 25 million for Wood, and is Dom right? Is Calvert-Lewin better than Wood? Yes. Do we probably have our eyes taken out for Wood? Yes. Look at it realistically, price-wise. So that's when you start to look, well, is Dominic Calvert-Lewin really worth 25 to 30? That's probably when you'd probably say yes on that one. He's not worth the price that Everton are after. Everton are after that price because they're in that much financial mess at the minute. So for me, no, I probably wouldn't want them at the price they're asking. Possibly at the lower end of the price if we couldn't get options elsewhere. I've just put a good option in our private chat, which I think is a fantastic shout. Someone who's been linked to Newcastle before. We can get on later on, but the guy from who's just left Torino, Belotti, Italian international, fantastic player. The good thing is, you got to look at he's still in his late 20s, but the good thing is he's not used to playing European football at Torino, so he's getting to go to a better project in a better league and still not get European project, but he's probably got more chance of getting it going forward with Newcastle than he did with Torino. So for me, it's pretty much a no-brainer. He's a fantastic centre forward, and it was when you saw him in the Euros last year when he came on another European competitions, when qualifying for Italy. He's a bit of a monster up front. He can hold the ball up really well. He can finish as well. I just think it's a no-brainer for absolutely nothing to bring an international caliber player from Italy for nothing.
Look, Jordan, Dom, is there anything in that with regards to Belotti? We have been linked with them, but is there a realistic opportunity of us maybe looking at Belotti? He is on a free, like Richie said. It could be a potential no-brainer if, as we talked about previously with the talk of Diaby, getting someone like Belotti as an alternative to Wilson and then be able to splash the sort of money that's needed to get Diaby in. Could that be a potential down the line? Is that link very strong, or is it just is it just kind of paper talk?
Yeah, I don't think there's anything on that, to be honest. The first I heard of Belotti to Newcastle was actually Newcastle fans debating it on social media when he actually got released last Friday. So the only time I've ever heard Belotti to Newcastle has been through fans hoping that they'd sign him. So I don't see that happening at all. But it maybe would make sense in some ways because it is a free option, but it doesn't fit the bracket what I've been told. And say Eddie Howe wants sort of a younger backup striker to Callum Wilson, and I'm not sure how old Belotti is. Is he probably about 20, 29 now, maybe, just off the top of my head?
28, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, not too old, I suppose, but I think Eddie Howe would prefer a younger option. I just don't think Belotti fits into the bracket. Would he want to come and test himself in the Premier League after being in Italy for so long? I'm not sure. So yeah, I think that one's a no from me, sadly.
In agreement, Dom, with Jordan?
Yeah, basically, if Belotti wasn't a free agent, we wouldn't be talking about him right now. It's just the fact that whenever half-decent players are free agent, people go, oh, we could get him because he's cheap. There's realistically nothing in it.
Okay. Well,
shut it down straight away.
Shut down straight away. But look, but before we move on to a popular player that's been linked in this week, in a good way or bad way, I think we'll discuss it in a second. But before we do that, come on, only 128 thumbs up in the live chat. We can do better than that. Give us the thumbs up. It allows more people to see the Fully Loaded Transfer Show. It spreads it further and wider, and it allows Loaded Mag NUFC to grow as a channel. So just that little thumbs up makes a massive difference to us. And while you're there, click that subscribe button. Those that are new to the chat, and consider becoming a member. Lots and lots of members are joining the Loaded family. Come and join us, and we'll discuss more about that later on in the show. But a player that divides opinions, and I'll be honest, it was a surprise link when it came up in the week, and it was this man. We've talked about Everton quite a bit already, and Anthony Gordon has been linked with Newcastle United. I actually thought it was a joke when it first popped up, but it turned out to be a genuine link. Sky Sports had talked about it, potentially in contact with Anthony Gordon and Everton about a potential deal. Look, It has been kind of closed down to a certain extent a few hours after these links built up, talking about 35 million as a potential deal. Look, where are we at with this particular transfer? Do we see it happening? Is 35 million a realistic value? Look, Dom, I'll come to you first on that.
I feel like I'm just shooting down every single transfer here, but Anthony Gordon, I think 35 million is probably slightly on the steep end for a player who just had his breakthrough Premier League season. I think 35 games he played. He scored a few important goals. I think he got 4 in total. We were speaking to Jordan's colleague Toby last night, who's an Everton fan. He said Anthony Gordon was Everton's best player last season. So I think he would be a good signing. He'd certainly help the team, and I think it's in a position that Eddie Howe is looking at. But when I saw that, I was like, I wouldn't be surprised if Anthony Gordon signs an Everton contract this summer, a new Everton contract. It seemed like one of those type links where, okay, Newcastle might be interested, contact may have been made, but if we're being honest, realistically, are Everton ever going to sell him? Is he going to leave his boyhood club where he's a sort of guaranteed starter and has just had his breakthrough season?
Jordan, are you the same mindset with regards to Anthony Gordon?
Yeah, I was surprised to see that link. To be honest, I didn't see that one coming. Look, I like him as a player. I thought in the 2 games that Newcastle played against Everton last year, I thought out of Everton players he had something about him. But he is it after 9 o'clock yet? Is it? Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Just a bit of a shit house, isn't he? Really.
No need for that, Jordan. No, we cannot allow that anymore. So you should shut it down. So Dom, you're on your own for the rest of the show.
All right. Okay.
We'll let back.
I want PG rating tonight.
Go for it, mate. Go for it.
But yeah, no, he's just look. He's one of them players that you'd love to have in your team. Look, if he was in the Newcastle team, Newcastle fans would absolutely love him. I have no doubt about that. Horrible to watch. It was the Liverpool game that Everton played in the derby, and it was him and Richarlison were on the floor every 30 seconds. It was so brutal to watch from a neutral point of view. So my love for Anthony Gordon that day, not that I had any in the first place, but look, I just didn't have any admiration for him at all after that. But to say if he was in your team, you'd love him, and he's just that type of player. I don't think Anthony Gordon would want to join Newcastle personally as well. He's just enjoyed his breakthrough season, and let's not forget Everton's his boyhood club as well, which I think carries a lot of weight. So he's still only young, breakthrough. Yeah, is he going to want to jump ship? Probably not. Maybe a way that he could move, as people have touched on in the chat about Everton's financial situation. Look, if Everton turn around and go to him, you've got to leave. Financially, we need the money off you. Newcastle are going to pay whatever 35 million. You've got to go. Then maybe. But I think if it was up to the player, I don't think you'll want to come, and I don't think you'll certainly push for a move. But it was an interesting link. I didn't see it coming, but I like the player. But his chances of coming to Newcastle, I think, are probably slim at this stage.
Yeah, Richie, Daz, one or two in the chat have said pretty much what Dom and Jordan have said, and some have mentioned it being a smokescreen for that contract, and Dom alluded to that in that, create a link with a rival club in order to hurry your boyhood club up to give you more money to sign that new deal. Is that what you saw? And look, first and foremost, would you even take him? The diving and the falling to the ground is something that frustrated a lot of opposition fans last season. Is that what you'd want for Newcastle?
Okay,
go on, Dan.
Okay. First of all, I have a bit to say about Anthony Gordon. First of all, he is Everton through and through. Even looking back on his Twitter, he's got a picture with Leighton Baines back, and he's got the full tracksuit on. For the diving in the Liverpool game, if you're in a relegation battle and it's the only way you can try and claim a draw, look at, I'm not going to hold that against him. I think he's a quality player. He was a man of the match. At least in one of the games we played against them last year. I think he's quality. Yano is not going to like to hear that because he is really laying into Anthony Gordon in the chat there. But no, I can't. I think we said it a long time ago when we mentioned him ourselves before any links. We had mentioned him and we said, would he give the same level of performance to Newcastle? He's Everton through and through. Could he do it for us? I'm sure he could, and I definitely take him at Newcastle. And it's the type of player we're looking at. Maybe we can't get Diaby, and we're looking at other alternatives, and he's on that list. Maybe he might be further down the list, but I'd be happy enough to see him rock up at Newcastle, to tell you the truth. But will it happen? It probably won't.
Yeah. Interesting. Mark Wilson just put a really interesting question. I'll bring that to you, Richie. He put, do you think Gordon is an Eddie Howe type of player based on the signings so far? I think that's a really interesting question.
Do you know what? I've just seen that come through, and I was actually going to bring it up with my point anyway, because I was reading an article today when they were talking about the comparisons between Moussa Diaby and Anthony Gordon, because they're two different types of player completely. You've got one who is potentially a marquee signing who boosts your offensive stats and capabilities to the next level completely. Whereas with Anthony Gordon, he's very strong on the defensive side of stuff as well. And his stats compared to any of the right-sided midfielders who played for Newcastle last year were just like above and beyond. You know, his work rate, his blocks, his tackling and stuff like that. So on that sort of evidence of those stats that I believe, that yes, he is the Eddie Howe sort of player. He likes, a hard working player who's prepared to put himself the team before himself. And if that's he's proved that player for his hometown club at the moment. If Everton had been relegated, I would have seen the transfer being more plausible. I think with obviously staying up and with it being breakthrough year last season, I think for a realistic transfer, I think you're probably looking at 2 years too early. If Newcastle progress like they wanted to, and he was, Gordon progresses like how everyone thinks he may progress, it might be something you revisit then. But at the moment, I believe it's pretty much what the lads have said. It could be potentially a smoke screen from his agent to, get an increased contract out of him. Because obviously, if Everton put a decent contract on the table with him being a blue, he's going to sign it hands down.
Yeah, definitely. He's you can tell. Look, we had a conversation actually. I think it was around the time that that Gordon played at Anfield against Liverpool, and I think we were chatting on the loaded chat. And the one thing I posed to you guys, and I kind of asked the question. I said, "Is the way in which Gordon was playing at Anfield that day, and he had a fantastic game. He played really, really well. Is he going to put that same performance in and that same passion and that same determination at a Newcastle United, at a Tottenham, who are also linked with him? Is he going to show that same determination and passion? Because at Everton, it's his hometown club, as we've all alluded to. It's a club that he's been brought up to support, and he's so passionate and determined to do well for them. Clearly on the back of them potentially getting relegated. Is he going to put those same performances in? We've seen players over the years that have gone and left their boyhood club and not performed at that level. So is he going to be that guy that, leaves the club and then just kind of down tools because he hasn't got the same passion and determination to put out there week in, week out? So, yeah, it's. I
think the one thing we're going to go on that with, Pete, is the fact that one thing that Eddie Howe and the recruitment team have said going forward now is the number one priority really is that quality of, the character of the players. One of the most important things, when they're looking at potential signs. Now, that was something that Rafa used to like as well. That was the character of the player, not wanting to be all about themselves and stuff like that. So. The only thing you can think is if they're looking at him at that caliber, he must have the right sort of character, and then they believe that they won't let him rest on his laurels if he was to move to Newcastle. That he's going to have to replicate what he's doing at Everton, full stop, or he's not going to progress if he ever moves anywhere else.
Yeah, fair point. Fair point, for sure. Now, a couple of other links that both Dom, Jordan, you've kind of talked about, and this one's slightly different. We're looking at Wonder Kids now, and this young man came kind of left field, and when I saw that, I thought, oh, that's really, really interesting. And it's Angelo Gabriel, the Brazilian wonder kid, currently plying his trade at Santos. Now, Mark Douglas initially put something out to say that Steve Nixon had traveled to Brazil in order to start negotiations with a 17-year-old. He's fast, skillful, Brazilian under 17s, and tracked by the likes of Barca, Liverpool, Real Madrid, and of course Newcastle. We're in that bracket now. We're in that bracket with those top clubs. And look, well, yeah, we're at the top table. And look, Jordan, you put a piece out for Newcastle World saying that obviously we'd launched a bid to sign the target of the same clubs, Liverpool, Real Madrid, Barcelona, and as well as that, Dom, you put something out as well about him, and he was a hot topic of conversation this week. How is that potential signing looking? And what do we know about how close this could potentially be as a signing to come to Newcastle? Jordan, I'll start with you.
Yeah, so it's a really intriguing link for me. That there's some players that Newcastle link with, and you sort of just brush off straight away. But I thought that was quite interesting. I looked at the report from Brazil, and it said that Steve Nixon, the chief scout, had flew over there to watch Angelo. Is that Angelo? Sorry, yeah, that's
Angelo. Yeah,
yeah. Sorry, and he proposed a €20 million bid, which is £70 million, but Santos said no for that price. So where the deal stands now, I'm not too sure. I don't know if Newcastle will go back in with a bid. They haven't officially launched the bid. It was just a propose saying, look, we'll pay you this. Would you accept it? And Santos have said no. But look, South America is a continent that Newcastle are exploring, because look, there's no coincidence that they signed Bruno Gomes in January. They got Joe Linton as well. They were linked with Diego Carlos. So look, they're all Brazilian players. So it's clearly an area or a nationality that Newcastle are looking at, and there's a lot of talent in Brazil, as we know. Look, when I was growing up, Brazil were the ultimate football or national team to watch, likes of Ronaldinho, Ronaldo. Maybe in sort of recent years haven't been as prominent in the World Cup, but are on the way back. And you look at some of the players that have came out of Brazil. Real Madrid have snapped up quite a few. Vinicius, Rodrigo, I think his name is pronounced as well. Obviously, Neymar came out there a few years ago as well. So it's clearly a market of huge potential, and Real Madrid have been ones to sort of dive in there, or Barcelona as well, to dive in there at the earliest opportunity. And it looks like Newcastle are going to try and start doing that as well. And again, that's just a testament to the owners and the project, the fact that they want to try and go toe to toe with big European clubs to land really exciting young South American / Brazilian players.
I feel old. You're talking about when you were younger, and you're talking about Ronaldinho's and players like that, and they were literally in the height of my teens, watching those players being the legends.
Were you alive when Pele was playing, yeah?
Like, hold on a second. Come on, it's bad enough people in the chat saying that I'm older than Lee, let alone you saying that I was alive when Pele was around. I'm talking about, when I was a kid, it was like Romario's and the Taffarels and those Brazilian legends. Yeah, Cafu feels like he's been around for
he's still playing
years. Yeah, he probably he could probably still play now in the Prem. He'd be a great backup for a Trippier. But yeah, it's a great point. And look, Dom, anything to add with regards to Angelo from your perspective? It's great to have links with some of these top wonder kid players coming over from South America.
Before Dom answers, I just want to check. You both wrote an article on this. You weren't copying each other, were you? Just checking. No, definitely weren't copying each other. That's okay. That's okay. Sorry, carry on, Dom. Carry on.
All I'll say, Steve Nixon wouldn't fly half the way across the world to Brazil to watch Santos, Flamengo, and Angelo in action if they weren't serious about this guy. 17 years old, obviously, really bright future. I think, okay, he hasn't got the greatest goal record, but for a 17-year-old, I think he's played something like 76 games for Santos as a professional, which is some going at only 17. So he's one for the future. If Newcastle can swoop in and get a deal done, it will be certainly an exciting one. But like Jordan says, as was reported, that 17 million, 20 million euro suggestion is sort of being batted away by Santos. So Newcastle would have to potentially up the bid or maybe revisit one later. But it's certainly one the club seem very serious about. But it's at this stage probably just want to keep an eye on rather than get excited about that it's going to happen anytime soon, I think.
Yeah, he's a young lad, 17 years old, not played a lot of football, but you know what if anyone's seen him play or whether you've seen his best bits in his clips, is that he is extremely skillful, fast, pacey, can get down the wing, got a little bit of trickery about him, and the big thing is he's got lots of potential to grow and develop. I mean, I think we've already alluded to the likes of Rodrigo and Vinicius Jr. in that when they first signed for Real Madrid, you looked at them and kind of thought, really? They look really raw and they don't look ready. But Vinicius Jr. then goes and wins them the Champions League and actually was unplayable that day. And what's happened is that he has been able to grow and develop at Real Madrid through a transitional period. When Ronaldo left, he came in, and now he's looking one of the top players in world football. And you know, someone at 17 years old has an opportunity to grow. The one thing I'll add, I always remember the first time I watched him play was in Egypt on Egyptian TV. I remember seeing this unbelievable young teenager get the ball from his own box from a corner and run the length of the pitch, taking on 8 players and whipping the ball into the top right hand corner. And I remember saying at the time, "Who the hell is this kid?" And it turned out to be Neymar at 18 years old, and he absolutely stole the show. And I just think to myself, he could be potentially that if we look after him and nurture him, and there's no better player than and no better manager than Eddie Howe to nurture him. But look, Daz, Richie, heard anything about Angelo? What were your thoughts when we were initially linked with him?
Yeah, well, sorry, do you want to go first?
No, go on, mate. You start. You start.
Sorry, keep putting in. Yeah, no, I don't know anything about him apart from the articles the lads wrote, and just a few YouTube clips. Then, but yeah, it's the way to go. Hoover up a few of the talented South Americans, like Barca and Real do. And even if we have to send them back on loan again to build up their experience, and then bring them over and integrate them in, or bring them to us and then send them out on loan either somewhere in Europe or somewhere in maybe the Championship or something, like, just to make sure that they're developing and they're getting game time. But it's the way to go, and it's going to be the way of the future for us. So happy to see stories like that and moves like that. It's the only way we're going to progress as well. And I imagine it'd link in as well to like a Man City kind of with the kind of feeder clubs and loaning them out to our particular feeder clubs then, and then seeing that they're able to come back in and make it into the first team. But yeah, bring it on.
Definitely lots to be excited about, that is for sure. And look, things are always fast-paced and kind of moving a lot with regards to Newcastle United transfers all the time. And I think there's been a little bit of an update with regards to a Newcastle United player. Don't know if you want to talk about it a little bit more, Richie. Something's kind of broken just recently.
Yeah, it was on Twitter about 10 minutes ago, so I don't know whether Jordan or Dom might be a bit elaborate on a bit more, but there's rumours that Birmingham City have agreed terms with Dwight Gale. Obviously, they might know more about that if they want to go ahead with that.
No, I haven't heard anything about Dwight Gale at Birmingham. I know there were club interested, as reported by Craig Hope first. So yeah, maybe there has been an agreement struck, but it's not something I've heard at this present moment. But I certainly wouldn't be surprised at that. To see how I'm interested to see how the deal would be structured, because as I say, he's got big wages. So on a contract for 2 years, Gale. So if that is to happen, I'd imagine there's been quite a big wave on sort of the financial side of it.
Yeah, I haven't heard. Sorry,
no, go for it.
Didn't have much to add. Just Birmingham were one of the clubs, and whether it happens or not, it'd be a good signing for them. Obviously, Dwight Gale, proven championship goal scorer. So best of luck to him. It's just about finding a club for him now.
Definitely. And so definitely one to keep an eye on. We talked about outgoings earlier on in the show, and it's one of them where I think it's a case of, just watch this space. It looks like those players are looking like they're going to move on very, very shortly. Just before we come to a few questions towards the end of the show, another player that was linked, we've got another couple of players actually that were linked to Newcastle. We've got Callum Hudson-Odoi. NUFC 360 had mentioned that Eddie Howe was keen to bring him in. That was reported in The Guardian. And also tonight there was a new link. Marco Asensio from Real Madrid. It was AS that actually initially put the report out that the Newcastle goes for Asensio, the English club looking to bid for the Real Madrid player. Boys, anything from your perspective with regards to any of those two players? Any genuine links, or is it again just kind of pie in the sky stuff at the moment?
Yeah, a lot of names being thrown out at the minute. I think with Hudson-Odoi, I think probably fits the criteria in terms of still young. A lot of room for development. I think clearly as a player that's got bags of potential. Only a few years ago was he on the verge of, or was rumoured to be on the verge of a move to Bayern Munich. But unfortunately, since he stayed put at Chelsea, it just hasn't sort of worked out for him. I know he's not totally in favour with Thomas Tuchel. I'm sure there was last year Thomas Tuchel actually called Hudson-Odoi out in the press for I think it was during a game. He done something wrong, and I say he got called out at the end. So it's not all sweet for him in West London. So that may be one that Newcastle will monitor and potentially go for. And Asensio, yeah, I've seen that link over the last couple of hours. And look, I'm just looking at from initially. I don't think that'll happen. I know he's only got a year left on his contract at Real Madrid. I've seen a rumoured fee of 20 million euros. So I don't know, maybe, but it's not something I've heard. Sort of reluctant to believe links like that to players, because I think if you're going to sign Asensio, what would his wages be? I know Newcastle don't want to break the wage structure. Got to be really careful of that, because look, Newcastle can go and sign him, got no doubt about that, but they don't want to disrupt the wage structure as well. As I've said, it'll be a cheap fee, but the financial fair play, although fans don't believe financial fair play is a thing in terms of Newcastle, it is, because Newcastle just want to build gradually, and they don't want to be breaking the bank for players. They might do that in a few years' time, but now it's a gradual process. So Asensio, a big name. I personally don't see it happening, but who knows? He's only got a year left on his contract. Maybe it is a marquee signing that Newcastle might look for. I'm not sure.
Dom, anything to add with Callum Hudson-Odoi and that link tonight with Marco Asensio?
I think Hudson-Odoi is an interesting one, because he's still only 21, and he's certainly got a point to prove in the Premier League. He's never really, as Jordan said, taken off after looking so promising those few years ago. So he would be an interesting one, maybe a second chance at Newcastle. And I think he does fit the bill and tick a lot of boxes for the club if they were able to get him in. Asensio, it does seem like, I haven't heard anything. I'll hold my hands up there, but it just seems like one of those names that Newcastle get tagged along to when a big club are trying to offload a player. I think Newcastle, if the interest is genuine, are way down the pecking order as far as this is concerned. But Asensio will be a great signing. I mean, he's been around for ages, but he's still only 26, I think it is. And he had a good season at Real Madrid last season, by all accounts. 3 times Champions League winner for them, I think. And he scores the goals from midfield as well and gets forward well. So I think he'd be a great signing, but I think it's a sort of fantasy signing at this stage.
2 really interesting links for me with those particular players. The Loaded Boys will know from Callum Hudson-Odoi. I mentioned him in the discussion in the Loaded Transfer Show last week. We were talking about Chelsea players that we could potentially sign, and there was talks of Hakim Ziyech and Pulisic, who are all, of course, they're more high-profile players in the Chelsea squad right now that are potentially looking at moves. But I always thought Callum Hudson-Odoi, for the points that Dom made, is a young player. You know, he can play on the right-hand side and the left, but he's a player that can be developed into something a little bit better with regular football and regular game time. Now, you know, I always think that he'll look back on his career and rue the opportunity that was missed of him going to Bayern Munich when he had the opportunity to go. And Chelsea really put their foot down and tried to keep hold of him. Chelsea like to hoard players for the sake of hoarding players because they've come through their academy and they take too long to get rid of them. And even if he doesn't come to Newcastle, I think Callum Hudson-Odoi needs to move this summer in order for the benefit of his career. And it wouldn't be a bad move coming to Newcastle United without an absolute doubt. Now, I want to get your thoughts on this before I talk about Asensio. Richie, I'll come to you first. Hudson-Odoi, Marco Asensio, realistic or, again, pie in the sky, not an opportunity for Newcastle to take?
I think the Hudson-Odoi one is probably the more realistic of the 2. I do believe Newcastle will probably turn to him if DRB doesn't progress to how we would like it to. You know, I think you look at the potential he had, as I think it was Jordan mentioned at the start of this segment about, you know, he was close to joining Bayern Munich. You know, he is a really, really good player. You know, he was in England national linked to the main team then as well. He just obviously hasn't worked with them since Tuchel's come in at Chelsea. And we know that Eddie Howe's fantastic at getting, you know, stuff out of players who've shown promise before in the past. You know, regressed for whatever reason to whoever's been in charge at that club. And you know, I believe you would get even more out of him going forward as well. So I think he'd be a fantastic addition if he was to join Newcastle down the road. The Asensio ones, I think, an interesting one because obviously he's fallen out of favour at the Bernabeu over the last 18 months or so. You know, he used to be one of the first names on the team sheet, and I think what the one thing that makes it plausible is obviously the rumour at 20 million. It's the sort of price where, you know, Newcastle probably would look to say, yeah, good player. We know we can afford him. You know, I wouldn't have imagined his wages being an issue. But what you've got to look at, he hasn't been playing regularly. Will he be playing regularly at Newcastle? You'd probably say yes. And with the fact that there's a World Cup coming in November, you know, and he's always been hovering around the Spanish national team, you know, you really want to cement a place in that squad as well. So I think if it had been any other transfer window, I don't think it would probably be a plausible deal. But I think there's a few things that, you know, might swing it in our favour if we decided to go down that direction.
No, I think it's a very fair assessment there. Daz, Hudson-Odoi, Marco Asensio.
Yeah, on Asensio first. I think it's interesting, and that people have commented in the chat as well, where Dom and Jordan they do should things down if it needs they don't play into the fantasy, and that's a good thing, because there's no point just thinking for the next 2 weeks, Asensio, and then he either signs a new contract or he ends up somewhere else. Look at that. Let's be realistic as well. I think it'd be great if we could get him, but do I think we could get him? Probably not. I know there's talk of Arsenal. There's just on those. His name was mentioned in with AC Milan and even Liverpool as well. So I don't know. I can't see him rocking up. Hudson-Odoi, I think I agree with you, Pete, that he must be kicking himself that he stuck around with Chelsea, but he got a big new contract out of him for boy sticking around. But like if he had gone that time, he could be going to a World Cup. You never know. So what's to be gained? He's seen from other players as well. Look at Ruben Loftus-Cheek. They sit there. They go on a few loans, they get a few games, and then they come back again. It's the same old story with Chelsea. So if you want to do something in the game and have a memorable career, and instead of just finishing out the end of the career playing regular football, you go now, I think, and it'd be a great move to come to Newcastle for him. And there's a few more, as you mentioned last week, there's a few more Chelsea players that are in the same boat as him. So and as you also said, if it's not Newcastle, go somewhere else. I think what is the point in sitting there and not progressing?
Definitely. Just my 2 pence on that. I've talked about Callum Hudson-Odoi. I don't think it would be a bad move him coming to Newcastle. And I think he'd actually thrive under Eddie Howe and playing at Newcastle United. And we know how much Eddie Howe loves his young players. He signed Jordan Ibe from Liverpool at a young age and tried to develop him. It didn't quite work out, but I think Callum Hudson-Odoi is a better product of a player. The one thing I'll add with Callum Hudson-Odoi before I move on to Marco Asensio is actually, the key for me that I thought this could potentially be a deal is actually the fact that he is about to pledge his allegiance to Ghana. And what that does, in effect, it takes away the English tax. Now, where there was a massive English tax with Bayern Munich in terms of being an English player adds on 15 or 20 million, by making him or joining allegiance to Ghana and potentially playing at the World Cup, which a number of players have done in recent days, a number of pledged their allegiance to Ghana from various different countries, and they look like a very strong team now on the back of that. Callum Hudson-Odoi is about to pledge his allegiance to that, so that draws down the amount of money that you would have to pay because he's no longer considered or seen as an English player. So that for me was really, really interesting, and one maybe we need to keep an eye on as potentially a deal could actually happen there. The Marco Asensio deal, Dom, you alluded to it. I looked at Marco Asensio watching him at Real Madrid last season, and in my mind, I just kept thinking he's always injured. Like he's had a really bad injury history in the last 2 or 3 years. Picked up injuries a lot, but he played 31 games last season, and actually he started 19 and scored 10 goals off the back of that, which, as a return, is a pretty good return for someone that's spent a lot of time on the injured table. Now, a year left on his contract. Look, you're all right in what you've said. Other teams would clearly be ahead of us in the game, but with 1 year left on the contract, with money being able to put down on the table to go, yep, we want him, we would definitely be in the mix for that. And I don't believe he's on the huge amount of wages that some other Real Madrid players are on. So I think we could be competitive with that. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but again, it's the type of shopping that we're looking in now. It's the kind of market that we're looking in terms of that quality of player that can come in and make a real difference. Now, I see if we were to sign someone like Marco Asensio, he would fit into that central midfield three. He'd be able to press high. He'd be able to get forward and score goals and create chances. You could also play him on the right-hand side, which I imagine, which is where we're looking for him. He could play on that right-hand side, and that's interesting for me because a lot of the players that we've been linked with, certainly what we've talked about tonight, can play on that right-hand side, and that's an area we're clearly looking for. So I think he's probably on the list somewhere. Where he is another matter, but an interesting one maybe to keep an eye on, that Marco Asensio, because he's not really played a lot of football as a starter, as a guaranteed starter for Real Madrid. Now we look at 3-4 years ago when Ronaldo was there, Marco Asensio was tearing it apart. He looked like the future of European football, and he hasn't quite done that yet. And maybe a move to another club is something to consider. Just really quickly before we get a couple of questions to round up the show to Dom and Jordan, just a couple of players to look out for that have been like tentative links, not massive links, but tentative links. Boubacar Kamara. Andy Sixsmith mentioned about a link with Boubacar Kamara, centre midfielder for Metz. Had a really good season for Metz. So I had a little bit of a chat with Lee about that earlier on today with regards to him as a player. He really likes him as a player. Got relegated with Metz to Ligue 2, so could be available for a real small fee, but a real kind of big, solid, box-to-box midfielder. Could be a real coup if you could pick him up. And there has been links there. Peter O'Rourke mentioned about Boubacar Kamara. A number of teams that have been interested, including Newcastle United. So one to keep an eye on there. Another one, although it's a centre-back, don't really need it at this point in time. Jean-Claire Tidabo from Nice. Had a really good season at Nice. Had played really, really well. And again, Sebastian Dennis mentioned that Newcastle and Man United have been linked with him, a potential of a €20 million deal. So something to keep an eye on from that point. And
did he come from Barcelona originally?
He was at Barcelona. He spent time at Barcelona.
Football manager.
Football manager, the old classic. But yeah, he's had a good season at Nice. Big, strong centre back. Good in the air, good on the floor as well with the ball at his feet. So you can understand why. And he's a right-sided centre back. So you can see why maybe he's been looked at potentially if Lascelles moves on. Could be a deal that could be done for a decent price. And the last one I mentioned before the questions, this man, Noah Lang. If you don't know him, playing at Club Brugge currently, he is one hell of a character. If you've ever heard his interviews, he really tells it like it is, and he doesn't stick to the script by any means when he talks football.
Like Martin.
Yeah, very much like Martin. So yeah, another player to keep an eye on. voetbalkran.com. I don't know if I've pronounced that right, but they've talked about we've referred to it as Richly Rich, not Richie, but Richly. English, that's what Newcastle we referred to as. We've jumped in the race apparently for Noah Lang. Interestingly, Noah Lang's been heavily linked with AC Milan. So could we do one again? Could we steal another player from the noses of AC Milan? He looks like a talented player. Full of skills, tricks, a little bit like ASM in terms of the way in which he plays. Very, very skillful, fast, pacey player. But again, has a little bit of an edge to him like ASM. Would that work on either side of the wing? Who knows? But let's keep an eye on that one. So just a few small links there, as well as that. Gabigol has been linked. For me, I don't see it happening, but has been linked again. NUFC 360 have talked about Gabigol being linked. But again, for me, I don't really see that happening. But three or four to keep an eye on, just tentative links. And yeah, a couple of questions maybe to wrap up, Daz.
Yeah, I have about 20 questions, but we can fly through them. That's the main thing. And you've kind of covered some of them there. Okay. Where would I start? Okay, let's go with this one. Will the season tickets price, I guess, increase substantially over the years because of the demand?
I can't give a definitive answer on that because there's certain Premier League rules that you need to meet. So Newcastle can only sell X amount of season tickets because a certain percentage has to go on sale on a game-by-game basis. I mean, off the top of my head, I'm presuming that Newcastle could offer more season tickets. But that just raises the question of, should Newcastle extend St James's Park as soon as possible, or should they move to a new stadium because the ticket demand at the minute is absolutely extraordinary. You look at the pre-season games like the back-to-back games against Atalanta and Atletico Bilbao, they're going to, by the looks that they're on the course to be sellouts. So there's a very high demand that Newcastle do need to look at. So to answer the question, I do think there probably is room to sell a few more season tickets, but I can't give a definite answer, unfortunately. Don't know if Dom's been keeping an eye on the pre-season games, so I don't know if he might have a clearer idea than me.
Yeah, I think the season tickets naturally will probably change. I'm not sure by how much or how substantial that will be, but one thing the owners are trying to do is to get a consistent sort of price structure across the board. You've got season ticket holders in same areas of the grounds on completely different sort of payment structures, price freezes and things like that. The owners want a sort of consistent payment method, so that'll involve introducing new pricing structures and things like that. But how substantial a raise that will be, or if it's all a raise, I couldn't say at this moment in time.
Cool. Cheers, lads. I'll answer this one. Who does Jordan support? Answer is Newcastle.
You have to listen to the accent, and if I don't have a Geordie accent, then I don't know where else I'm from. I'm professional.
Any word on Matty Longstaff and where he may? Is he going on this permanent or loan?
Yeah, so we mentioned before about the players that have been put in the 23s, and obviously Kieran Cork, Dwight Gale, Jeff Henrik, Matty Longstaff, I believe, is another player that's currently training with the under 23s. I think Matty Longstaff's only got a year left on his contract, so look, they might let him leave on loan and just say, thanks, Matty, go and have a season on loan somewhere and look, get a new club next summer, or potentially look to get a small fee for him. I think probably Matty Longstaff's career now will probably start in League One, maybe at best a bottom end Championship club. But I think after his loan spell at Mansfield last season, it seems quite natural that he'll probably just step up to League One, which is a massive shame, really, because Matty Longstaff for me was completely mismanaged by Steve Bruce, unfortunately. So he had that debut against Manchester United and then was never really seen again. Played the season behind closed doors, and I think he played about 4 or 5 games over Christmas, and it was against the likes of it was Liverpool, Manchester City, all the sort of top teams, and then again was taken out and never seen again. So it's just a shame how his career's planned out in Newcastle, because we all like to see a local player do well. But it just seems like his career will probably start lower down the English pyramid now, and then hopefully maybe in a couple of years we might see him back in the Premier League with someone.
Okay. Dom, we'll go to you with this one. Do you think we'll sign anyone in the next 7 days?
No, I hope I'm wrong, but no. I think we've seen with almost every signing Newcastle have made, there's a lot of noise around it, and it seems to take forever to actually go through. Yeah. I think probably the one exception is Nick Pope. I think that went through. Actually, no, even that was reported for a while. Bruno was fairly quick, and the deadline day signings were quite quick, but every other one has seemed to take an age just to announce Sven Botman being the big one. Yeah. So I think we'll probably see another couple of names linked just naturally in the next week, but whether we'll see a player like holding up that Newcastle shirt in St James's Park, I'd be very surprised, but I hope I'm wrong.
Okay, I have a name already who's going to be linked in the papers over the next couple of days, because with what the news breaking that Gale looks like he could potentially be going to Birmingham. I think Sean Casey had a tweet out then about, do we have kind of first refusal on Job Bellingham, and it sparked conversation in the chat. Then, is it true we're interested in him? Have Dom and Jordan heard anything on him? Have you guys heard anything?
So the last I heard about Job Bellingham, he was actually being shown around Sunderland's training ground. But this is a few months back. This isn't anything recent. This was a few months back. It was when Sunderland were just starting towards the end of the League One season, and obviously they going for the playoffs, and there was a lot of talk of Sunderland needing to get promoted to obviously have a chance of signing Joe Bellingham. But from a Newcastle point of view, I've heard nothing. I have heard whispers that he might be, or he's viewed potentially as bigger potential than his brother, but he has to be very, very special to be better than his brother at this moment in time. But no, not one I've heard. Last time I heard he was being shown around the training ground over the river we are. So just wait and see how that develops. You look at what Newcastle have done recently in strengthening the academy when they've signed Alex Murphy, obviously from Galway. They've just confirmed Charlie MacArthur.
Better.
Nearly getting there. Then you've got Jordan Hackett as well, who's just got released from Spurs, but obviously Newcastle snapped them up. So look, clearly this summer there's a lot of effort going into to strengthen the academy ranks. So I would never rule out a potential sign like that. It would be again another one with huge potential to bolster Newcastle's academy ranks, and hopefully make an exciting future from the first team point of view and an academy point of view.
Cool. Sticking with the training ground talk, any update on our own? How's it going now? Is it the bits that they're working on? Any progress made?
Yeah, it's underway. The planning permission's been given the green light. The groundwork's been going ahead since the back end of last season. I remember going to a press conference, and it was sort of the groundwork was getting underway really. So well underway. I think part of the reason Newcastle are away for such a large part of pre-season, like the Austria and Portugal trips, is due to the training ground being worked on so heavily now. It's obviously a lot of work to be done. I don't think it'll be ready in time for the new season. I don't know for sure, but just the amount of work that's been done and the amount of work that's been done so far, it would take a lot of hard work in a short space of time. But the upgrades look great. It's a stopgap ultimately. It's going to keep Newcastle in a good training facility for the next couple of years, ahead of moving on to a new site at a state-of-the-art training facility, because ultimately the current site at Darsley Park is dated in desperate need of an upgrade. So it's a welcome one, but ultimately it will only be a stopgap for the next couple of years, I'd imagine.
Cheers, Tom. Let's link two questions together here. In one from Banana Man. Do you think the club should focus on going for a striker now, if in case Wilson picks up an injury? I think they are. And then linked in with Paul Oxley's question is, question to the panel, will you be disappointed if Newcastle don't bring in a striker? And will it be seen as a bit of a failure?
Yeah, I would be disappointed. I would just like that younger option, like saying maybe not Hugo Ekitike now because of what's happened with his agent and other things like that, but someone of a similar age and potentially a similar sort of profile and highly rated, has potential to go and do well in the game, and it's mostly because as much as I appreciate what Chris Wood done for the club last year, if Callum Wilson was to get injured early doors in the season, I would have a lot of reservations with doing a full season with Chris Wood as the number 9. So I like him. He's a good, honest character. Obviously, he came in and look, his record sort of speaks for itself in terms of Newcastle went unbeaten 9 games, but his goal record, he only scored 2 goals. So I think as an overall centre forward, he's probably quite limited. So I do think Newcastle need someone to step up if Callum Wilson is to get injured. So yeah, I would be disappointed because I know Newcastle are looking to sign a striker as well. So if they don't get one, it ultimately means that they've let themselves down in a way, because they've went into this transfer window hoping to sign a striker and they haven't been able to do it.
Cool. Probably don't have an answer for this one, guys. But is there anything around the CEO? Is it strange that we haven't appointed someone yet, or maybe they have one in mind and it just has to play out before they can announce it or something? Have you heard anything?
I think I think that at this present moment, because I was initially told that Newcastle were going to appoint a chief executive and a sporting director, but I think how things have played out, it sounds like it's going to fall under Dan Ashworth's remit for now. So it sounds like Dan Ashworth's in total control of everything, and with that, we'll probably cover what a typical CEO would do. So I don't think there'll be any CEO appointments anytime soon. I just think it's Dan Ashworth that's obviously leading the operation.
Interesting. I suppose we'll end on this one, and you could do nearly a show on this. But it's a question: in 2 years' time, how many of the current squad will be in the first team? Will still be in the first team. I hope a few of the more recent signings that we've brought in, especially like Bruno and Botman, will. But thoughts, quick thoughts.
Sven Botman, Bruno, definitely. St. Maximin potentially if he's still around. Nick Pope potentially. You'd like to think Kieran Trippier's still got the quality at what would be 33 to perform at a top level. I think after that you're sort of hoping Joe Willock really kicks on. Joe Linton. Other than that, I'm struggling. Maybe Callum Wilson as well.
Yeah, if he gets that big contract that Pete's going to give him. That's it, lads. That's all for the questions.
Okay. Well, look, it's been a great show. Lots to talk about tonight. Lots of kind of to delve into, and a few extra bits thrown in there as well. And look, we'll always talk about everything Newcastle United based every week. So look, massive thanks to Dom and Jordan for joining us. Always a pleasure to have your knowledge and your background with regards to Newcastle United. Daz, do you want to see us home?
Yeah, I must just give a shout out to the sponsors as well before we forget, and tell people what's happening during the week. Okay, first up is we go to Shy Barnes and Simon, who's in the chat. He got the term right this week. Nice one, Simon. So go to shybarnes.com. You can check out the range that Simon has available, and you'll also find the loaded t-shirts. And also there's a loaded mug and water bottle as well now. And I actually have Mick's one here somewhere. Here it is. Here's Mick with his mug watching us last week. So yeah, there is at least one of them out there. So great to see that. Also a shout out to our new sponsor. Let me get the pictures here in a second. Here they are. Machine House. To Marty and the gang in Machine House and the range that the guys have. And if you sign up, you get a 10% discount as well from your first order. But yeah, they have a lovely range of t-shirts, hoodies, various colors, and the new range launching as well. This one is back in stock today, if you've seen that. So go check that out at Machine House, and you'll find them on Twitter as well and Instagram. And also shout out to Pins and Prints and the range that Dean has in Pins and Prints. Go check that out. And also Retro NUFC. Go check out the range that's available there, and those fabulous bucket hats that that pop up now and again.
I spoke today, Daz. He's actually just set to mention that there's a huge market at the end of July, at the Tynemouth market, and he's going to have all of the retro gear that he's going to have in. He's got a huge drop coming in next weekend, and we have them all at the Tynemouth market. So if anyone's local and know the Tynemouth Antiques market on the Saturday in the metro station, get yourself along and be able to see all the gear firsthand as well. And there's some absolute belters going to be in there from what I've been told.
Nice one. Yeah, it's great having you on, Richie. You can give the local perspective. I just said, yeah, he's running a market somewhere. I don't know where. Me pinpointing where it is. But then coming up on Sunday is our next show. Sunday we are back, and Pete, you can talk us through this one.
Yeah, it's Miguel Mir on Focus. So Roberto Rojas, who has tracked his career from South America through to MLS, through to Newcastle United. We're going to hear from him to talk a little bit more about Miggy and South American football and American MLS football as well. So, look, come and join us on Sunday, 7 o'clock to to discuss all things Miggy and all things Newcastle. Get your questions in, because it'll be a real fantastic chat. And you know what? Just something a little bit different, a little bit of a player focus, of a player that we don't know what the future lies for Miggy Almiron, and Roberto will be able to maybe give us his own perspective on where he sees Miggy's future in the next couple of years moving on. So yeah, a little bit of a different show, but looking forward to talking to Roberto a little bit more about Miggy and all things Newcastle.
Cool. You know what? We might as well tell people who's coming next week to Fully Loaded Transfer Show as well, because it is our panel switches, and it could, even what I say now may not be correct after this show. But next week we are due to have someone who we haven't had on before. Is Jack Talbot will be joining us, and potentially Jordan might come back. Dom might show up, or Lee might turn up with a tan from his holiday. But yeah, check us out next week, and we'll have back with more of the same. So that's really it, Pete.
Yeah, look, it's been a pleasure as always sharing the show with you boys. Great opinions, great knowledge as well as always. Look, between now and next week, all things will change again. It has done every single week with Newcastle United. This is the new Newcastle United, and look, I'm all here for it. So thank you to everyone in the chat. If you haven't clicked that thumbs up, click the thumbs up. Well over 200 now that have done that. Keep doing that, and subscribe to the channel. Become a member of the Loaded family. And look, we'll see you for lots more content and lots more shows and lots more transfers in the next week.
Good night, everyone. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Cheers.
Good night.